Look, it's a real pleasure to be here this afternoon. As John rightly said, I'm from Citipower, Powercor and United Energy. And today I'm going to specifically talk about our Summer Saver program, which is now in its fourth year of operation. For those of you in the room who are not familiar with our business, we're an electricity distribution network. We service basically the western part of Victoria, Melbourne CBD and inner suburbs, and the United Energy network runs from the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne down the Bayside into the Mornington Peninsula. So if we go to the next slide. Demand response, we kind of think about it inside of our business in terms of two pretty distinct areas. If I talk about network side demand management, we have a program called our Smart Meter Voltage Management Program, and we can deliver up to about 130 megawatts of demand response into the market to address temporary short-term market constraints. And that's fantastic. To put that into context, it's about 110,000 homes in our Citipower Powercor network. But we also have voluntary opt-in demand response programs, and they're really about how do we partner with customers to address localised demand growth. And Summer Saver is a really great example of that as one of the initiatives underway in our network. So from a voluntary customer side demand management program perspective, these programs give us a really great opportunity to actually build relationships with our customers while driving distinct network benefits. And that in turn requires us to think about a couple of things. Firstly, that we really think about the customer, and that's in terms of program design, and then how you responsibly attract customers to those programs, how you retain them, and how you think about customer performance throughout the longevity of that program. The better you meet the brief around customer expectations, the more likely you are to achieve the network benefits. And this is an important, distinct differentiation. And as a result, we're starting to think very differently about collaboration and about the sorts of partnerships that we have. So if we just talk about Summer Saver, I'll be very, very brief. The program runs from about the 1st of December to the end of March. It is a shorter term behavioural demand response, and it is about managing localised feeder constraints. We basically invite customers, targeted customers in that area to register. We incentivise them to register, and then we invite them to participate in a number of events, typically, as you would expect, between about 3 p.m. and 8 p.m, and during summer when the temperatures exceed about 35 degrees, and a typical event will last for about 3 hours. Customers are then rewarded for every kilowatt hour they reduce in that event period. If they reduce consumption across all 3 hours, they also get a bonus payment. So how have our customers responded? So the great news is I think we've seen some real shifts this summer. We've seen a significant uplift in the take-up of the program this year. So if you compare to last summer, we had about a 5.4% take-up in terms of the total addressable market, and we lifted that to 9.5% this summer. We set a target of about 6% and a stretch target of about 10% for the program. However, what's also very pleasing is that we've seen customer participation per event lift, as well as the average demand reduction per customer for each event. That's good news for customers in terms of the quality of the rebate or the reward they can receive, but it's also good news for the network. So as you can see from the graph, that's taken from a particular, particular event this year. We saw a drop in demand, in localised demand. We see about 1 megawatt on average across the summer. We've had 4 events so far this year. We think there's possibly room for another, and so we will exceed that. So that's really important. So while it might look like a small number of customers who are actively engaging, in terms of the impact on the network, in terms of reducing and then allowing us to potentially defer augmentation costs, that benefit is actually then indirectly spread across the broader customer base over time. So what do we think made a difference this year? And I want to talk specifically about customer engagement because we did make some small changes that clearly had an impact when you look at the customer uptake. So firstly, we changed the customer incentive. In previous years, when customers registered, they received a $25 registration incentive, and we actually upped that substantially. So customers went into the draw to win $5,000. So we saw a significant uplift in registration. The other key difference, and we've talked a lot about trust and about partnerships, but the other key difference is we worked very closely with local councils, and in fact we established them as a key channel partner. They were seen as credible, they understand their constituency base quite well, and more importantly, they had really established customer channels, and so we actually used them as a channel partner, not just as an advocate. Sounds really simple. We did streamline our messaging and we did change our call to action, really small change, but really focused on we'll reward you for saving energy, we'll pay you to save energy. The other thing we did is during the program, we really upped our customer engagement throughout the length of the program. We had monthly customer newsletters that went out to them, giving them tips on how to curtail and doing some education around peak demand and the benefits of the program, not just to them, but to the broader community base. Interestingly, the newsletters had about a 62% open rate, which is quite good by any stretch. The other thing that I will talk to is that I think there's probably no question that the other contributing factor to uplift, and we will be exploring this, has been around the media attention on prices, but also the media attention around security of supply. We're all familiar with the System Black event in South Australia, but also in Victoria, we've had the closure of Hazelwood Power Station, which has attracted a lot of media attention and political commentary. And then, of course, there's been increased media focus just around demand response in general. So where to from here? How do we build scale? So we do want to build scale in terms of the United Energy Network, but we're also looking at how we can take initiatives like Summer Saver and roll them out across the Citipower and Powercor networks where we have similar types of constraints. So a couple of things that we're going to be focused on as we get towards the end of this summer is we're going to be doing customer research, and in fact we're talking to the City Smart team about helping us do that. And really what we're going to try and understand here is customer motivations and drivers, but also deeper segmentation around customers, and that's about informing both the ongoing design and tailoring of our existing programs, but also how do we build future demand response programs, and how do we better engage to make sure that we are actively encouraging registration and participation. I think the second thing for us in terms of this program is working with our network planners to ensure that we target programs and customer engagement in the areas that make the most difference. Remember, we're looking to partner with customers and other players in order to deliver demand response programs that drive down localised demand and therefore allow us to defer further augmentation on the network that has a broader benefit for other customers. And then thirdly, identifying the right partners to help us build scale and develop programs that provide meaningful value to customers. There's been a lot of conversation today about trust in the sector. Certainly in Victoria, many of you may be familiar, organisations like RACV are looking at demand response programs. They have an interesting array of members and member benefits. So we're looking at who can we partner with to actually build scale and build programs that are genuinely meaningful for customers. And that's it. Thank you.